Hi everyone, welcome to the first Creative Recruiters Lunch With. Unfortunately, you're all stuck with me today. I'm Lawrence Akers. I'm one of the recruiters here at Creative Recruiters. And today's topic is going to be on tips for applying for jobs online. Now, while we wait to see if anyone's going to join us today, hopefully they will, because this is the first one. Just a few things. This is literally in the heart of the Creative Recruiters office. And there are people around me working at the moment, so I'm hoping that everyone can hear me properly. If you can't, please make sure you make a comment. We'll see what we can do. We may not be able to do much with this recording. I can still got 2 people online at the moment. Hello, thank you. The other thing is that Creative Recruiters is currently doing our annual salary survey. That is up and running. We'll post more information on our Facebook group after this. Contribute and be in the running to win Bose headphones valued at $500. I believe it's pronounced Bose. It could be Boss, I'm not sure. It's open to hiring managers and business owners, and it's really about you being able to have a voice in accurately benchmarking salaries within our industry. So your contribution is going to be enormously valued, and so please get involved. For everyone else, keep an eye on our website. We have job opportunities, we have tips for business owners. I have my own blog, Ask Lawrence, that goes out on LinkedIn most weeks. Most importantly, get in touch if you feel that we can contribute in any way. You can check out our website at www.creativerecruiters.com.au. So we're a couple of minutes in. So our topic today is going to be on tips for applying for jobs online. And I guess this is a really important one because we go through literally hundreds of applications every day. And you know, when we're trying to match it up against a job brief, it's only going to be a select few that actually manage to get through to that short list. So really how you do present yourself to a recruiter or a hiring manager is really going to be critical in determining if you're going to be able to make it through into that short list. When a client comes to us to fill a job, they're expecting us to get the best match possible for their job brief. They may have searched themselves. In some cases, they may have gone to multiple agencies trying to find the right person and not had success. In some cases, the brief might be realistic and you know, really bang on. And in other cases, the brief might have a challenge or two in it, which has prevented them from being able to find the right person previously. So as recruiters, we're often trying to find what is the hardest part of that job brief and to try to see if we can find as close a match or something that's negotiable around that. And this can often mean the difference between the client having someone in the seat sooner rather than later. So when applying for a role, obviously the key thing is really about trying to make sure that your application matches as closely to that job brief that you see online as possible. There are obviously a few tools that you're going to be using in order to do that. Some people may include a cover letter, and we did get a question coming through from Sally, who asked many agencies, as well as Seek, have a cover letter as option. From a recruiter's perspective, does a cover letter add any value? That's a great question. My own personal stance is that I don't read every single cover letter that comes through. I will generally jump straight into the CV and the folio to see how much of a match it is for the brief that I have. If I find that there's something there and that I see as a cover letter, I may go back and actually have a look at that cover letter to see what they have in there in case there's additional information that may not be listed within the CV or folio. However, it's something that I may not necessarily read either. So out of the 3 aspects, being the cover letter, the CV, and the folio, I'd say the cover letter is probably going to be the least important. If you do decide to go with the cover letter, make sure that you have read through the job ad really thoroughly and match up point for point what it is, why it is that you feel that you're suitable for that role. If you don't entirely match a point, then be open about that and perhaps express in the cover letter how you would think you'll be able to overcome that point not matching. And certainly don't send through an extended piece, no War and Peace piece. Consultants don't really have the time to read through extended pieces of writing. So it's really important to make sure that you keep it really simple. In terms of the CV, Look, the average CV statistically only has a handful of seconds in order to grab someone's attention and to be able to convey the information that it needs to. With that, the design of the CV is going to be really crucial here. The more you can make the relevant information stand out and pop, for want of a better term, the better. With that, don't go heavy on blocks of text. People are not going to sit there and read blocks of text when they've got literally a handful of seconds to work through it. I recall one lady who was a magazine designer, magazine specialist, and she thought she'd be really clever with her CV and present her CV as a magazine, which was a great idea. The problem being is that it ended up being about 10 or so pages, and it was quite heavy text, and it just wasn't going to be a workable, practical sales tool for her. And I know that some people actually have an objection to me referring to a CV as a sales tool, but really that's what it is. It's meant to be able to sell why you are the right person for the job, what your successes have been, what you've been able to achieve in a role previously, because that's what your client is going to want to see, or your potential employer is going to want to see. They're going to want to know why it is that hiring you is going to provide a real difference and add value to their company. Now, I can see that Sampath has sent through a big questionnaire. I will get back to that, Sampath, I promise. I'll need a moment to be able to read that. We'll come back to that. On top of that, you want to be able to look at your folio. Quite often nowadays, there's a debate between whether or not you send through a PDF or a online website. There are going to be pros and cons across both, and it is going to sound like I'm sitting on the fence here in regards to this, but there are going to be advantages and disadvantages to both. With a PDF, you're going to be able to guide the viewer in terms of what work they need to see, which can be really, really useful. I can see that our beloved MD might be, no, which goes, okay, you missed that. On the digital side, on the web side, you can certainly showcase a lot more work, but you're not going to be able to steer what people are going to be able to see. And if you don't have it clearly labelled, they may not be able to find what they're looking for quickly, and they may just give up. So it's really important to be able to guide whoever you're sending that information to so that they can see it in a way that makes relevance to them. Consider your position and how your folio might show that. So for instance, if you are a retoucher, you may want to show before and after shots that you've worked on. Or if you're designing a logo, you might want to show some of the ideation that's gone into that as well. It helps to be able to give some real clarity around what the skill set is. And the other thing to keep in mind is to clearly identify what it is that you've done on that folio piece. So don't just send through the image, make sure it's labelled in a way. I can recall a few years back, we had two different graphic designers come in. Both of them had the same work in the folio. Both of them claimed to have done it. Now, the reality was they had both worked on it, but because they hadn't clearly labelled what it was that they'd done, it could be seen as a little bit misleading. One question I do get asked often is about applying across multiple job titles. And I certainly don't see any problem in people being able to do that. Of course, we all develop multiple different skills throughout the course of our career. What I think it is important to do, though, is to make sure that you tailor your CV and your folio to be aligned with that job title. There's nothing worse than applying for a whole lot of different jobs and not changing anything in your CV or folio to reflect that. You may have finished art skills, you may also be a graphic designer, you may also be an art director, but it's really important to make sure that the way you present yourself is really aligned with each of those applications. The other thing to keep in mind is your online profile. So to make sure when you approach your online profile that you have a bit of an SEO perspective about it. And I'll give you an example. Quite often if I jumped onto a professional networking site like LinkedIn, I'll see people have listed, company, job title, company, job title, company, job title. Now that's fine, but it's not really giving me any great insight into what they've actually done within that job. What were they producing? What were they creating? What were their responsibilities? And more importantly, what were their success and achievements during that time there? By approaching their online profile in that way, it's going to make it far easier to be found. And let's face it, what's the point of actually having a profile on a professional networking site if you don't want to be found? It's there to connect. So really take the time to approach some of your online profiles with a perspective of what information can you put on there that is going to make it easier to be searchable and to be found so that more people can come to you. The other thing you might want to keep in mind is about becoming a bit of an industry thought leader. In many ways, employees will want to be able to hire people that are really passionate about what it is that they do. And the easiest way to start doing that now is to start putting content online that reflects what it is that you're passionate about. So if you're a packaging designer, consider doing a blog or some sort of content based around packaging. And the more you start to put that out there, the more people are going to begin to recognize you as being the specialist in that area and more likely to approach you for job opportunities there. Now, to come back to Sampath's question, she says, is it possible to reveal the successful candidate to all unsuccessful candidates so they can see why they were not successful and they are able to improve and better prepare for themselves in the future? As someone who's been applying for a while, not hearing back with any feedback is very frustrating. Finding a reason you were not successful can help applicants to improve in a very competitive industry. That's a really good question. To answer the first part, no, it's not possible to reveal who is a successful candidate, as that would obviously break privacy laws there. Quite often I will try to come back to people and let them know in a nutshell why it is they haven't been successful, but it really depends on how many applicants have come through. And in some cases, it might be so close between being shortlisted and not being shortlisted. Sometimes it can also be, there could also be a whole lot of other reasons as well. So it may be sometimes too hard to necessarily sit there and try to list every single reason why someone hasn't been successful. Certainly, Sampath, I'd recommend that if you were to contact your consultant and ask if there has been any feedback, I'm sure they'll provide that if they can. In some cases, they may not always be able to provide that feedback simply because they may not know as well. And if they don't know, then they'll be simply guessing what feedback they can provide you other than to keep applying. It is a bit of a numbers game at times, and to just continue to develop skills in areas that perhaps the consultant might be able to provide you some guidance in. So tying this all together, basically, when clients approach a hiring manager or recruiter, they basically want to see the best match to their job brief possible. So the key thing here is to make sure you tailor your application to match that job brief as much as possible, point by point if you can. Take the time to consider how your CV and folio should appear, especially if you're going for a graphic designer role. You want it to look like a graphic designer. If you were to consider yourself as a brand, how would you want to present your brand? How would you want to be perceived out there in the market? Keep your online profile updated. Make sure that you include your successes and your achievements in there. And if you're up for it, become a bit of a thought leader in the area that you're passionate about as well. And if you do these things, then it's going to help to lift your profile. It's going to help to make sure that your application feels relevant and that you've read the job ad thoroughly and that you're putting your best foot forward. And hopefully that will increase your chances of being successfully shortlisted and hopefully scoring the job that you want. So if we've missed anything in this broadcast today, please feel free to send through questions. We're hoping to do this a little bit more regularly if people like it. If you've missed this live broadcast right now, which, I'd say you more than likely have, the minute or so left to go, then there will be a replay available on Facebook in the group. We may look at also getting it on the YouTube channel. I'll have to talk to our amazing social media person who's just sitting over here about that. Otherwise, thank you to the people who have sent through questions and to the people who have taken the time to have some lunch with me today. And we look forward to catching up with you again in the very near future. Take care.